And as promised, the Jock Doc back with us as well, Dr. Sergio Alvarado. Doc, first off, great to have you back on the program. I love the background. Well, our listeners can appreciate this when we put this on our YouTube channel later, because I like that. It's a very nice logo background for you.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, it was we got lucky that we have some good minds here. They came up with it. So
good. That's really what it's all about. And you tell me, how are things since we last spoke to you about a week ago?
Well, it's been busy. That a lot of injuries. In high school, and right now, I guess a lot of achiness. I also see arthritis. So right now we're busy with that. And grandpa, grandma are coming in, and they're trying to get their shots for their arthritis.
So Desert Institute of Sports Medicine is staying busy this holiday season, is what you're telling me.
That's right. We're still doing the just a quick shout out. We're still doing the Troy Drive. It's not too late, up until Tuesday. So it's for a good cause. I mean, like these kids really could use a smile. And I think everybody can you can both relate to getting a new toy, when you're little, So
well, I mean, I still like getting new toys now, don't you?
yeah, exactly. Actually, you're right. Yeah,
works good for us.
Adrian's smiling, so I think Adrian's in agreement there.
I think so too.
Oh, yeah.
All right. How does a guy, as we get started, how does a guy who 11 days ago dislocates his shoulder come back to play yesterday and do what he did? Talking about Dalvin Cook of the Minnesota Vikings, over 200 yards, was amazing running the football. And you would never have even known he was hurt. He came back and was so dominant.
He was a beast. Yeah. That game, I just quick side note, I thought the Vikings were going to chalk it up, and I was like, really, you're going to give up this huge lead? But anyway, yes. How does he do it? He a lot of good rehab, and the other thing is the gods were good to him. That shoulder dislocation, he's had problems with that shoulder. I don't know if you guys knew that he was wearing the same harness they made for him when he had that previous injury, and of course, what happens with the shoulder dislocation, like we talked last time, you're going to have this laxity that persists, and this is one of the few injuries. The younger you are, the worse it is, because it just haunts you. But they rehabbed him, and I guess the harness did what it was intended, and even him being a running back and pushing through with those shoulders, he didn't look at all like he was having any problems. So the kudos to his therapist.
Absolutely. And speaking of football injuries, you look at what the Ravens are having to deal with right now. They are banged up. They just lost their star cornerback, Marlon Humphrey, for the rest of the year due to a torn pectoral muscle. Now, again, I'm more interested in how these muscles get torn during a game. I can understand ripping it when you're lifting weights because of the amount of pressure that's on your body, and that sometimes happens. But how do you tear a pec during a game?
Well, it's just that hyper extension of that shoulder, and so with the quarterback, there's several ways you can do it. One, if you catch the quarterback on right when he's about to release the football, they're going to have that stress on the pectoralis where it inserts, and usually that's what happens. Like you're right, and absolutely. Like the first time I actually saw it in person. We were water skiing, and the guy, he just didn't want to let go, and he didn't let go. But he comes in, and here he's shriveled up, this bodybuilder that we knew. But yes, a quarterback, it's probably going to be more so if he gets caught. He gets caught on the tackle as he's about to throw, because then they're gonna hyperextend that shoulder, and they're gonna take that insertion of the pec.
Man, lots of football injuries. Daniel Jones, the quarterback of the Giants, is dealing with a neck injury right now. Now, look, injuries are serious across the board. If you've got an injury to your shoulder, your throwing arm, your knees, but neck injuries are so scary just because of the way the game is played. And ultimately, when you're starting to deal with your neck, your vertebrae, it kind of frightens you at times, doesn't it?
Yeah, and then the fact is, with a quarterback, you need to have that mobility, because if not, you can't. There's only so much with the helmet, you're that depth, the peripheral vision is really limited. So you're really making sure, like, you got to make sure that you have that mobility on the neck. But it looks like it's pretty severe, like with unfortunately for the Giants, and I don't think Jones is coming back for a while. And you're right. The bad thing is, like, it with neck injuries, you really don't know, like, from the outset. I'm pretty sure you guys remember how it derailed Colt McCoy. He was a beast, and with UT, and then I loved him when we I'm a Washington disclaimer here, Washington fan, and I remember one game where he just tore apart the Cowboys with just slants after slant, but he was just limited on you could tell that he could not move the neck mobility, really affected his play, and hopefully that's not the case with Daniel Jones, but it's looking like his season might be over.
Doc, when you're talking about the Giants and you're talking about the Ravens, those are two teams that have been hit big time with injuries. UTEP in the past has been dealt with years where it seems like everybody gets injured on their teams. What happens when that happens, like in the offseason? Do you sit down with your strength and conditioning team and your trainers and evaluate better ways to keep your players healthy? Or do you change things when it comes to practice to keep people healthier on your teams?
Yes, and so and you brought up a good point, Adrian. The smart teams actually sit down and say, hey, like, what happened? What are we doing wrong? Sometimes, and when I see, when I'm looking at the high school teams, sometimes I'll see, like, I see one volleyball player, and then I see another, and then I see another, and I'm like, wait a second, like, what's going on? And the case is usually there's a new coach, and they started drilling them on overdoing it, really, like they're making their athletes come back from the summer, and they're not really, like, transitioning well. And then you get these overuse injuries that you don't want. One of the two really good soccer coaches, they really emphasize ACL prevention. And that's one that I always really push on girls. Girls are 2 times more likely to tear the ACL. And so, with soccer and volleyball, I'm always telling the coaches, if they can, like, during the summer, to incorporate it. The other thing is, you don't want to just be down with one sport a year, and so you really got to take a break. And that's the other thing I tell all my athletes, parents, and say, hey, you know what, little Johnny can't be doing football all year round, and they have to take a time to do something else, not be a couch potato, but 3 months out of the year, they got to do swimming or jogging or something else,
Dr. Sergio Alvarado joining us here on Sports Talk. We're talking in our Ask a Doctor segment. If you have any questions for the doc, you can always send them to us on Twitter at 600 ESPN El Paso. That is at 600 ESPN El Paso on Twitter. Or you can message us on our free mobile app powered by United Bank, and we'll pass that along as well. Let's talk about UTEP a little closer to home. Jamal Bieniemy, scary collision with freshman forward Kevin Kalu in the Kansas game. And he immediately went to the bench, didn't even try to play, left the bench, and ultimately missed the remainder of the game. Now, we don't know about the injury. We just assume it was a concussion because it looked bad. And obviously, Bieniemy was really shaken up. His status on Sunday against New Mexico is still up in the air right now. Doc, when you're dealing with basketball players, especially a high-speed collision like what ended up happening with Bieniemy and his teammate, you wonder how long that could take somebody to try to heal, whether back to being 100%.
Right. And so, I like you said, it was a pretty hard hit. One of the things, is really, like, the key is really, like, had, the player themselves, have they had a concussions, and concussions have this cumulative effect that, pretty much just like most injuries, the more you have, the more it takes you to heal, and the more severe the symptoms are. With concussions, there's a lot of variables, and one of the biggest variables is, like, what part of the brain got affected. So when you think of the brain, you think of the brain as a peanut inside the shell, and the shell, like, if you shake it and it hits the right side, well, you might be talking about the occipital area on the back, or you might be like, so now they have problems with vision. it might be more that they hit the parietal side, and now they got problems with the hearing or the vestibular system. And so there's a lot of variables. I don't know. I mean, hopefully, like it looked pretty rough. And like you said, for him to have left the game. The other thing is with concussions, you wanna limit the stimuli. And of course, a basketball game, you got lights on and you got people cheering everywhere. And so, I mean, the best thing is to put him in the locker room, turn the lights off, and get him some cognitive rest. There's no such thing as, you can't stop the brain from thinking. You can't, get the obviously it's got to do the day-to-day functions, keep the heart beating, keep the lungs going, but you limit external stimuli. One of the, two of the big ones are light and of course sound. And so we tell the athletes, hey, you know what, a dark room for a while, and then limit, obviously using the phone, the texting, watching TV. But with the enemy, hopefully you're usually talking about 7 to 10 days, Steve. So hopefully that, we're hoping that it's a mild concussion and that the enemy gets some rest,
Doc, does it matter? Does age matter when it comes to concussions? I mean, when we're talking about a high school kid, maybe you're looking at 7 to 10 days. Do college teams ever rush players back if it's not that severe?
They I think sometimes, the when it comes to the pros, they might rush things a little bit, because obviously they're on the, they're getting paid for this, and I guess that's their way of seeing it. But the younger the athlete, the worse the injury, Adrian. And they've done studies, and that's why one of the things that I tell my parents, no contact sports, before the age of 12. So the American Academy of Pediatrics, they came out with a consensus statement saying, hey, you know what, no hockey and no tackle football till 12. And of course you see it, and unfortunately, the concussions are more severe, and then obviously they're going to play more, so there's more there's the likelihood of them having concussions, more concussions is higher. And the other thing is we're seeing that the concussions have that cumulative effect that I was telling you guys about earlier, that every time it's gonna be worse and it's gonna last longer. There's no magic number, but really, like in middle school and high school, kind of what we look at is 3 concussions and pretty much you're done with contact sports.
Again, if you would like to ask a question, and even if it's not for this week, but you want to send it to us, you can always send it to us on our free mobile app, where you could chat in real time at 600 ESPN El Paso. Download the free mobile app powered by United Bank, or tweet the show 600 ESPN El Paso with Dr. Sergio Alvarado of the Desert Institute of Sports Medicine. And Doc, again, time flies with us, man. When you talk about injuries, that's usually what happens. Once again, the toy drive ends Tuesday. Let's give your location again, where people could drop off those toys for you.
Right. It's 1729 Weston Brant. It's Suite A. We're pretty close to the corner of Lee Trevino and Traywood. So yeah, there's still some time. All
right. In the meantime, Doc, happy Friday and enjoy the weekend for you. And we'll look forward to the next time we get to chat with you right back here on the show.
Thank you, guys. You guys have a great weekend.
You too.